Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Zbcn network. This is going to be a technical analysis video. As you know, that's what I love doing because I really do believe the details are always in the chart, and I can prove it, right? I can prove it. Now, fundamentally, I do think this project is the future. I really do think this is something worth investing for. Now, obviously, you just cannot take my word blindly for it. You have to do your own research, and put in the time and effort to look at this coin. Before we jump into the technical analysis, ladies and gentlemen, yes, my computer is still having issues, and we also will go and look at the basics and fundamentals. Big shout out to Uber Eats for sponsoring this video. First 50 people get $20 off their first 2 meals, which means you can literally eat for free. Just use the code on your screen or the link in the description below. So we can see that, ladies and gentlemen, we are ranked 144 in all of crypto. So that's very impressive in itself, right? Very, very impressive. We can see that we are 343 million market cap with 41 million volume in the last 24 hours. Now, here's the thing, right? This coin has exploded practically ever since the 21st and 22nd up until the end of May, beginning of June. Now, we called out this coin in the private community somewhere down over here. It was roughly the 10th of May, right? We called it over here. And, I also called it in the community that I am personally selling when we were up roughly 3.5 times, a little bit more than that, right? A little bit more. It was somewhere around this line. It was somewhere over here. So we can see, right? The reason why I called that is because I did see momentum was dying. I did see weakness. Now we did get a little bit of extra pump for an extra day, but it is what it is. You don't really have to time the tops exactly perfect, right? Now, we did also call, like I said, we called the bottoms for it to pump and the reversals. Why is that? Well, if we go back just a little bit, we can see that we were consolidating for a very, very long time. We can see that we were just ranging practically for almost a year since we exploded. Now, what happens when something goes sideways for a very long time? Well, ladies and gentlemen, right? It is ready to explode once the momentum starts really picking up. We can see that we saw this big candle over here, very, very strong close, the strongest weekly close we had in our history practically, right? Obviously, you could have said, well, this closed higher. Well, it didn't even close higher, but you could say obviously here, but the context was different back here. So yeah, we can see we closed higher than this candle back in the middle of February. Then we can see we were struggling. We were struggling to go down, which is why I saw a perfect buying opportunity and I knew this coin was going to explode. And that is exactly what happened. So we can see we were going up and up and up and up. Then I saw some reversal signs, so I called it. Obviously people in the community don't have to follow what I do, but I was up 3.5 times on my position. So, it would just make more sense for me to cash out 3.5 times and then reflip it into another project that can give me a 10 to 20x, because that would be a 35 to 70x with the initial money that I put in. Now, here's the thing. From the position I got in, I still think I could have probably hit something like that, like a 35x, because where I got in, let's just say was 0.002. It was technically higher, right? But let's just say half of the market cap, a little bit less. So we would have been sitting roughly at, let's just say 150 million market cap from the position I got in. So I do think this is one of those tokens that can hit 10 billion. Right, which would be roughly a 25x from here, right? A little bit more. The 25 to 30x from here would be that 10 billion market cap. So obviously I still could have hit my goal, but I like to push myself. Now, where is this coin gonna go next? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this coin as of right now is showing 0 signs of reversals. The reason why I say this is because we can see that we are consistently creating lower highs, right? And it's very, very simple, right? When you see something in the charts that's showing you lower highs and higher lows and etc., whatever it is, right? You have to respect it because that is how the market works. I just had to cut it because my dog started to go crazy. But listen, yeah, we can see consistently on the 4-hour, we are creating lower highs. And ladies and gentlemen, if we also go to the daily, we can see consistently we are creating lower highs. indicating the market wants to go lower. Now we do have this order block here, which there's always that chance of manipulation of where we just pull up, then accumulate, and then go back down, right? There's always that chance. But overall, we are bearish. Now, here's the thing. Last time something similar happened, right? We kind of just kept respecting the lower highs and consistently just kept going lower and lower, right? We can see, boom, we just kind of kept going lower and lower until we sold off a good amount. Now, I don't think we're going to sell off that amount the same way we did last time. I do think, right, fundamentally, we could go all the way back even down here to 0.003 area, right? Because that would be a retest off of the last all-time highs. So that is what I think is most likely going to happen, unless, of course, something like Bitcoin is going to really, really explode and Zebec is going to follow. But Zebec is kind of on its own path, which is why it's very, very unique, right? Because this coin saw a lot of momentum even when Bitcoin was starting to sell off last week and, even 2 weeks ago. So that's the thing, right? Bitcoin's not necessarily influencing this coin too much. But I do think, right, when we go back down to 0.0032, that is a very, very great area to be buying, right? That's where I'm going to be looking to reinvest some of my money and buy from there, because that would be roughly let's see, a 25% dip, which for me, that is a great discount, right? We're going to be back in the 200 something million market cap. And like I said, if I believe this coin can definitely hit like 10 billion, that would be roughly a 50x from these green lines. So yeah, I do think this token can do very, very well. I'm personally a big fan of this project. I'm not even saying this because I owned it or anything, right? I wouldn't have called it out to the private community if I thought it was genuinely bad and not worth investing in. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should've, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.